Hi everyone, I'm Seyi Oluwadare, a second year PhD student in Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering Department. I'm here today to talk on critical thinking skills. Critical thinking skills is an essential skills for every student to master. Critical thinking skills are analysis and evaluation skills that is very crucial for every student to master, and more importantly, it will enable us as an individual to evaluate any body of content in a non-trivial way. And the more we practice critical thinking in our endeavor and everyday life activities, we begin to think more historically, mathematically, scientifically, and skillfully. And critical thinking skill is a cognitive skills that enable us to analyze a system, evaluate a system, and synthesize information to be able to make better conclusion and well-informed decisions. So for us to be able to think critically, it has to be based on some metrics, and some fundamentals has to be also followed. No one should actually analyze a system or could write a technical report effectively without following these metrics of standard for critical thinking skills. So as a critical thinker, whenever we think, we think for a purpose compared to normal general thinking that we think. Because thinking to itself, we think every day as an individual. That's what we do every day. We think every day. And when we leave our thinking to itself alone, it could be selfish, it could be biased, it could be distorted, it could be disinformed, and it could be full of prejudice. So that's why we need to employ critical thinking in what we do. And critical thinking is not limited to research or academic alone. It is what we also need in professional setting and personal development. As a critical thinker, you're able to pick up on a complex issue and reduce it, like break it to a smallest manageable part, and started by questioning assumption, seek the right information and evidence for you to understand the underlying concept, and based on what you've learned, you're able to come up with a logical conclusion. So as the critical thinker, when you think for a purpose and within a point of view that is based on assumption, and often it leads to implication and consequence. Therefore, we use our data, information, experiences to make inferences, conclusions, and judgments based on concept and theory to answer a question. For instance, when we think about solving a problem, we ask ourselves a question of why am I solving a problem? What's the aim? What's the objective? What's the impact of this problem? And what are the point of view you intend to consider? For instance, if you are doing a structural problem, for instance, you might want to look at the material aspects of the problem or a project, or the legal aspects, environmental aspects, environmental implication, and the assumption that we base that we make while trying to solve this problem really matters. Because when we make a wrong assumption that is not realistic, of course we get an answer for assumption that I made, but it will not be really realistic and verifiable or validated in real life. So that's why we have to be careful in making assumption, and while making assumption, it has to be made on something that is really logical, so I will get a intended result. Now, as a critical thinker, with our thought process, we have to be clear in the way we formulate our ideas and our thoughts, and the meaning or the intent of what we're about to do has to be clear as much as possible. and accurate when seeking information or when presenting your reports or your thoughts to a third party. And where we seek information as well, it has to be from reliable source. At the same time, we have to be precise as much as possible to the matter of hand. Not like when you are solving a problem on something else and you are going to another area that not really matters to what you are solving. So we have to be relevant to the matter of hand, consider different complexity, different dimensions to the problem, the depth. It has to be make sense overall. It has to be logical and to be fair. As a critical thinker, you have to be fair in your decision making. So that's what makes us a good thinker. And the more we incorporate critical thinking into our day-to-day activities, the more our life becomes better, because we're able to make more informed decisions and our thought process improves. This is the skills that has been underrated mostly in every setting, but it is the important skills that we need to be able to spot problem as early as possible, and with these skills we're able to lead or derive solution for the problem that you have. And then with what I've said so far, we want us to start incorporating critical thinking in our skills, and by that so like I'm saying, it will be able to allow us to identify root cause of a problem and identify potential solutions and possibly give a feasible course of action to do it. So in summary, it is advisable to start practicing critical thinking, more importantly as an engineer, because it is what we are going to use later in future and in our research and even in our coursework. To solve a problem, we have to list out all this. If you apply critical thinking in problem solving, it will become very easy because we're able to manage complex problems easily. So critical thinking is a very important skills that we encourage us to start incorporating in our future endeavors. Thank you.